And we are live, I think. We are live. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon. I don't know which region are you. How are you, John? Yeah, different time zone. Different time zone, right? Different time zone in Los Angeles and Belgrade here. So guys, today I'm gonna make a little bit into introduction. I have known John. When I say with my accent, I have known because I don't know him in person, but I know his work for a very, very long time. And we have spoken for how many years? For 4 years, like something like that, John? Yeah, almost 5 years, dude. Can you imagine that? So I met John there on the Creative Pot where we had a lot of fun, and it was super fun time because John is one beast of a designer, and I love his style. I think everybody's gonna enjoy his style on this stream because it's something totally new. He has been doing this for a lot of time, and every time you see his sketch, you can grab your head and ask yourself, "What the fuck have I seen?" Because it's amazing. Yeah, yeah, that's how it goes, right? So, guys, I have one question. Do you hear us both good? That's my main question that I want to know, so that the microphone is working. And today, John and I will talk about car design and design in general. So please do post a comment if you hear us good. And I will ask you in the chat also, so I'm sure that everything's working, so we don't start and stop and start and stop. Just a second. Because last stream was crazy. So Johns, today what are you gonna show us? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, candy apple. I like it, candy apple. Nice, gonna be great. That's the one that I've been working later. I started with Giulio Partizani on the stream, but then I fixed it a little bit. Yeah, there is the stream. I will send you the link later. It's on the and we worked on this card. Then I worked alone for one stream, and now I'm gonna work on it a little bit longer video. Giulio is in Japan in Honda at the moment, so he yeah, different yeah, different region only. Yeah, he's one amazing designer, that's for sure.
A professional designer, he's excellent.
Yeah, just a second, I'm checking if they can hear you now. I think they can hear you. They were so that I hear good, but you don't. Do you hear John? Can you speak,
Yes,
John, now? I will ask you a
yes, I
question.
am. I'm testing my speech right now.
Yeah, we are testing everything. So yeah, Giulio is a great designer. By the way, which is quite funny how small this industry is. It's that when I came to Bertone ED Design, Giulio was on the position that I took. He left and I got on his position, which is crazy, you know. And now you know him from the project. It's such a small industry, man. Everybody knows each
It
other.
is. That's amazing. That's really cool. So you were at Bertone in
I
was
was
it
in ED
Turin?
design. I was in ED design. Later, Michael Robinson opened ED design, and I came there, and they were working on the same projects because Bertone bankrupt. So I got
Oh,
there and worked on that projects that Giulio, similar project that Giulio was working on.
uh-huh. Oh,
So it's
that's
a
cool.
super fun experience for me because I learned a lot. I saw how is the industry, I saw what I don't like, what I like, and I enjoyed it quite a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's good to get a taste of that at least.
yeah, so you can know what you want. I think it's
Sure.
everybody needs to know. So how long have you been working on this? Everybody hears you, so we are great now.
Okay, good, good, good.
How long have you been in the industry?
Um, since 96.
96. Long,
Yeah.
long time, long time.
Yeah. So that my first kind of paid gig was an internship with Boeing up in Seattle. It was actually for a company called Teague, which is a product design company.
Ah,
It
the
was
thing.
basically, yeah, they've been with Boeing as like a permanent contract installed in the Boeing kind of headquarters
Okay.
for I don't know how many decades. But while I was there, I got to do all the Boeing stuff and see the factory, and then went to work on some John Deere skid steer loader stuff, which was pretty cool. Um,
I can imagine how cool that was.
yeah, and then after that, I graduated like the next term and went to Activision for a month for just one gig, and then Honda after that, some short gigs in between. But yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
The industry has changed so much. The technology has changed as well. Um, like what you sketch with and communicate, how that all works. You know, like when I started, they gave us pagers. We didn't have cell phones back then.
Oh my god, how long ago that
Yeah,
was? Like pager, oh my god. I remember my
and
father had a pager, it was crazy, like
1990s.
yeah, 1990s. You get a pager and you can't answer to anything. How frustrating was that, right?
Yeah,
They send you message, come here, and you need to. But one thing that changed for sure in this today's society is nobody respects anybody's time. Like I have that kind of feeling because I lost my mobile phone like 3 months ago or something like that, and I wanted to meet with some friends, and
yeah,
we couldn't meet because I didn't have a mobile phone. They would leave, or I would leave, or I don't know what happened, and I was like, man, what happened with the
right.
old good old times when we would call each other on the normal phone and meet.
Yeah, and then you had to be patient. Like, I'll call you back when I have a chance. But now it's like if they don't call you back right away, you feel like you're
Disappointed.
not important or something.
Yeah, I tell to tell every girlfriend of mine. So okay, I'm not
No
gonna.
more excuses.
No more excuses, girl. You need to call me. But we're having a lot of visitors. I'm really happy that we have this much visitors, and a lot of them are saying hello to you, John. I think they're very happy that you're here. Hi,
Oh,
Farhad.
cool.
Hi, Konstantin. How Advait? I think I'm pronouncing it good. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Ask us. We will hopefully answer to some of them, and I'm joking. We will answer to most of them, and I hope that answers will be good for you to learn something new. So, John, what I wanted to ask you, when you started saying now, you said that the industry changed a lot. I did,
Yeah.
I'm not that long in the industry, so I don't know anything about it, and I would like you to tell us what you think that changed the most in design field. Maybe we can talk also about management and everything if it changed because you're in that industry of car design. But what I'm interested in the most is the design field. What changed the most for you?
Right. Well, the whole 3D process is kind of what has been the most in flux, I think. And so, when I started, everything was very centered around 2D kind of blueprint kind of way of thinking. So there's lots of drafting setups. So you go into a studio and people had drafting boards and stuff. And it's
Okay.
hard to believe it was, wasn't that long ago, but we did a lot of plotting of side views of cars, and then you tape over them and change the lines with tape, and that's all kind of gone away because I think CAD has improved so
Yeah.
much. So I'm in the alias modeling area, and that's my kind of area of expertise. And so alias really made modeling a lot more free form. So if you contrast what kind of these CAD modelers are like to like what you're doing right now,
Yeah.
it's that kind of change. So we didn't have like this morphy mesh modeling like with Modo or gravity sketch or medium, or these are the newer tools, and we're just starting to get into that. So basically it's blurring the line between sketch and 3D, final output. So that's kind of the big thing. And so designers don't render as much anymore. I think it's they go from sketch into 3D a lot quicker. So they used to have to do like a 3-view drawing set traditionally, and really figure things out on paper first before they got into 2D or into 3D, because the CAD was so slow.
Yeah.
But now you can kind of do a little bit of a rougher sketch and really start to just knock it in 3D, like what you're doing right now. And it's amazing. And you find the design in 3D as opposed to 2D. So I think that's kind of why we're seeing a lot more complex surfacing. The package of the cars are generally not changing that much. So a sedan today isn't radically different in general proportion. Wheels are getting bigger as always, but the subtle surfacing that you see, a lot of that is a product of kind of 3D design development that we weren't doing before. But at the same time, clay modeling is still very important. So seeing things on a 2D screen, or even with VR, it's not the same as experiencing it in real life and seeing it in real life, where you can walk around it and see the light reflecting off it in a normal way. So that's kind of the next big change that's probably going to happen. It's just improvements in VR, and then you'll start to be able to replace more 3D properties, models.
VR is looking very promising. For me, the problem biggest for product designers or car designers is that the surfaces are still very muddy, but I think it's catching on, and I think that it will improve, because that's the future for sure. I mean, when you can see the car, that you can sit inside immediately and feel the proportion, everything, it's crazy, like you're in a real car, and it will cut the process a lot. It will cut the process, that's for sure.
And especially for like automotive interiors as well, so you can really get a feel of what the cabin feels like around you. That's where it's really important. And also reaching to push a button somewhere, you get a better sense of the space around you.
Have you ever worked in interior, or you were only exterior and digital art?
I haven't sketched any interiors professionally, but our team and I have done a lot of modeling for interior stuff. But I'm more of an exterior specialist more than anything, so that's kind of where my world has been.
Yeah, we can see that on your sketches, which always look amazing.
Thank you. You too. I mean, I want to say, I really appreciate your impact on my world as well. So there's a lot of people that I've run into online that have kind of motivated me to do different stuff, more stuff, and like that. The whole creative pot thing was so fun. So I don't know, you can explain what that was, but
thank you so much for that comment. Yeah, the creative pot. I think that it was one really cool thing, and I will explain why, because I need to tell to people that I think that they maybe some forgot, maybe some never saw. But when I was without the job or anything, I started to gather a team of people which I thought have great style in design and everything, because car design can get boring from time to time because you're sketching all the time same stuff and everything, and I wanted to make a group in which we will collect some of the best talents, and we design together different subjects. Each week somebody else is giving us different subject, and we post it online after a week. And I gathered quite a few people. There was John, of course, there was Arthur Martins, there was Yacid. By the way, Yacid is the next guest, I can tell you that immediately.
Oh, that is awesome.
He is coming.
He's great.
He is.
Yacid's stuff is awesome.
There was Pedro, there was Rodrigo Galdino, I put later Denal Yassini, my friend, Giulio Partivazani was there, and we had that creative pod group. And I can tell you one thing, guys. John was always winning. We were having eternal...
No, I don't think so. You just said that.
You always won, man. We were always like you just post and you're like, I vote for John. And that's it pretty much. Like he always won with his style. Because he had the sickest style ever, he was super fast. You'll see now when he's working. I mean, you need to understand that he's talking at the same time, but this guy can draw, I can tell you that. I can tell you that. And it was super fun, that creative pot, because when I saw your stuff and Arthur's, it was pushing me
Yeah.
really forward. Like so many different approaches to style, which made us rethink how we work in our style, and I loved that so much.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And, I really encourage people to, join up any challenges online. So if there's Alfa Romeo Sketch Challenge, there's the new Group C Blast Challenge, and
Yeah,
there's the Agorapod competitions every month. I did a bunch of those, and that was, also really good for my creativity. But, when you sit down with a piece of paper, you tend to sketch what you're comfortable with. And so if you join these challenges, often it's something that you've not done before. And so, you just do a bunch of those, and it's also good for getting your name out there as well. It's like, oh yeah, who did this sketch? And they'll look
yeah,
at your social media account. So if you want to raise your subscriber base, it's a really good way to do it. But, I met people, which I haven't met them in real life yet, but I met so many people through the Creative Pot challenges and
I saw
Agoraphobe and
that.
all that stuff.
I saw that you gathered. Marcel was there, also Marcel or Marcel. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it good. The Skep Challenge was there, right? And you was
Yeah, Galdino. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It was super fun to see you
Yeah, we
all.
went against each other. He made it to the finals with me. It was like
Did you kick
there's
his
only
ass?
four of us left at the top.
Did you kick his ass?
Well,
Yeah.
according to the judges, I did, I guess, is the best way to say it. He did really good, but he he drew a spaceship out in space, and he did, this is all analog with
Yeah.
markers and stuff. He drew the whole background and
Oh my
stuff, which
God.
was very, very ambitious. So,
Oh
yeah,
my
it turned out really well. He's been doing a lot of uh, sci-fi concept design stuff.
Yeah, his dream is to work as Star Wars in Star Wars, if that's possible. For now, he's a
Yeah.
car designer, but he would like to work in Star Wars. I mean, that would be amazing because he's always doing in his free time some Star Wars stuff. So, big shout out to Mr. Galdino. I hope that one day he will work on Star Wars.
Yeah. So here's another kind of small world story. He did a what do you call it? Like a mentorship program through, I think, Brainstorm School, which is a concept design school
Yeah,
in the LA area, and he did it with James Klein, who was I don't think title may have been art director for Solo, Star Wars story, and
yeah,
he's worked on pretty much all the latest Star Wars stuff coming out.
yeah. I know Pike is
So
amazing.
yeah, so Rodrigo did the mentorship with James, and James was my roommate when I was going to school, so
Really?
I've known him for years. But he was always a Star Wars nut. Uh,
His work is
I love Star
incredible.
Wars, and that really impacted, my career.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's living the dream for sure. It's so cool to see him do that.
Well, tell me. So, when you were speaking that it impacted your career, what were the main things that developed you as a designer that made your style? Because I'm always speaking on these streams about the style, and I'm trying to bring the guests that have specific style. What were the
Right.
things during your growing up, during your teenage years, that you think influenced you and created the style that you have today?
Well, the thing that got me into concept design was Star Wars, actually. So
Okay.
when I do a lecture to my students, I talk about the things that are kind of shaping your brain when you're a kid. And Star Wars came out when I was about 5, and before that there was no like sci-fi that was geared for younger people at
Yeah.
all. So it was either like cerebral or was like super crappy, cheap, B movie, horror movie in space kind of thing. So when that came out, it's just like it totally blew my mind. And I was always like a vehicle kind of design appreciator.
Yeah.
I loved fire trucks, and my big thing was army vehicles. I loved tanks and jeeps and stuff. And then Star Wars came out, and it's like I was just drawing Star Wars stuff for the next several years playing with Legos. So, getting my 3D sense,
Yeah.
building things that way. And I was just drawing like crazy. I was just drawing all the time. But it was always vehicles of some sort. And I can't explain why, but that's the way it is for a lot of people. Is like they love vehicles, and that's why they get into the industry.
Something just steers you there, right? Something is pulling you in that direction. You don't know what,
Yeah,
but something is
it's
calling
kind of
you.
weird, huh?
Yeah,
I
really.
mean,
I mean, look at me from Serbia. Nobody does that here, and I'm like, I started doing it. Like something was steering me in that direction. I don't know what.
yeah, yeah, and beyond that, I didn't know what career there was to be had in that area.
Yeah.
Uh, but my idea was I'd be a graphic designer, and that was, it seemed like something reasonable. I didn't want to be an architect because I suck at math. I don't want to do any math. But I didn't know anything about car design. I didn't even really think about it that it was a job. And then my mom gave me a couple art books, and it was like industrial design sketching.
Yeah.
And I could relate to it because you could see, these are markers and pens, and you could see the sketching process and like, well, this is a career. And then from then I, figured out that as an industrial designer, you can specialize in doing cars. And so like early high school towards there, I just started just drawing cars like crazy and developing a portfolio.
I see.
To kind of go that direction.
But isn't it fun? Like, I mean, everybody of us who started doing design, I think that every person it happens. The thing that you said is like, I want to be a car designer because you don't know anything better than that when you are young. And there are mostly people know what is graphic design, but nobody knows that there is car design and stuff like that. I mean, now it's easier because the industry is more open and they are giving information. There is internet, but my generation was also, I was like, I'm gonna be a graphic designer.
Yeah, I mean, that sounded like a real job.
Yeah, because that's the only thing that people know mostly about design. Like today, even when I'm speaking with people who don't do design, they're like, "So you're a graphic designer, right?" And I'm like, "No, I do something else." But that's all about education and everything. Because I wish that it was more open to public, so public knows more about it.
Yeah, it's hard to explain sometimes.
Yeah.
If you say you're a car designer, they think you're an engineer.
Of course,
usually.
of course. So you engines and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a question from Konstantin. Do you guys believe in talent or hard work to make something in this design field? Because I think talent does not exist. There is an inclination instead and a lot of hard work to create. So basically he's asking, do we believe in hard work or in talent? Would you like to tackle that question, John?
Well, I mean, I think talent is, if you want to define it, it's probably something that's genetic, and your brain is just a little bit different in that form. So if you look at, there's a guy named Kim Jong-gi, and
Of course.
yeah, a lot of ID guys may not know him, but his brain is not like yours or mine. Like, even if we practiced our asses off for our entire lives, we would never be able to do what he does. So he's like a kind of a freak of nature in that way. But it just kind of shows you that people's brains are different, and some people will find it easier to do things like draw a lot easier. So some people have the knack for it, and some people don't. So that's what talent is. But talent doesn't mean that you're instantly able to draw. It just means that you're able to learn quicker.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have talent, if you want to describe it as that, I think you can still be a great artist or a great designer. You just have to work a little bit harder at it. But I think for me, I feel like I had a lot of good encouragement, and I just loved doing it. So I don't know if I had talent or not, but I just loved drawing so much that I spent a lot of time doing it. And then, I had parents that gave me the art supplies I needed, and I think because I was a little bit ahead of the curve when I was going to school, people were like, "Oh, you're the artist of the class," and that just kind of gave me more encouragement to go forward. So it fuels itself in that way.
From my experience, talent does exist. I would lie if I said it doesn't exist. But when I came to the university, I was the worst one because I started drawing at the age of 19, and I was the worst.
It's really amazing.
And like everybody knew better to draw than me, but I was working 10 times harder than them. And mostly the people, that's from my experience, that have great talent, they don't want to work that hard. Most of them, not everybody. They're in their comfort zone and they don't care. And I had some guys that like did amazing stuff, but they are on the same level now because they didn't care to switch the game up and to change it. So I think that hard work is very important. For me, it's the most important ingredient because it got me everywhere where I am, you know. And
Yeah.
I have a feeling that the design can be taught, but to a certain degree, and the rest is your personality and who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I went to Art Center, because I had a leg up a little bit, that I didn't work as hard as I probably should have.
Yeah.
I always feel like I should have worked harder. But I think like since I've gotten out of school and been in the industry for a while, like I've been working really hard on just my personal talents, personal skills, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like from what I got out of school, I definitely wasn't at the level I am now. So, it doesn't just taper off when you're in school. You need to keep, learning a little bit.
Yeah, I think that design, the most important thing about design is that you need to improve yourself all your life. You can't stop. There is no possibility of stopping because it's never-ending story, literally. You need to learn and learn and learn.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people that get jobs, they get a little bit burned out. So, when they get home, they're done designing for the day. They don't want to do any more work at home, and that's a little bit sad, I guess. Especially as you got into the industry because you love to draw or love to create. That you only create when you're being paid, which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah, they get paid, they get a check, and they get relaxed. But not a lot of people enjoy their job, which is quite funny. Even in art, which I found out later, and I was like, how can you do a job like this and not like it that much? A lot of people
In what?
in design field. In design field.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I met that kind of guys, and I was like, how can you work this kind of profession if you don't like it anymore? And they were like, I liked it when I sketched for myself, but when I'm doing it for somebody else, it's not that fun anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
It can happen like that, from my experience. So, John, tell me.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and that's the thing is like in my job, I've done a lot of stuff. So, I came in not knowing how to do 3D modeling so much, and I learned that on the job. I had a little bit of training from school, so I knew what Alias was and just building basic surfaces, but so I could draw already, and I added to that all this knowledge of like 3D development, which I thought was going to be really, beneficial for me as a rounded designer, being able to do 2D and 3D well. Because I could understand what I'm sketching in 3D better if I know how it's modeled. And then beyond that, over the course of my career, I've gotten into project management stuff and all these other things that don't involve sketching, drawing, or modeling or anything, and I find that interesting as well. It's just like the whole process of designing and developing a car is really quite interesting. Even the kind of the market research stuff. It's like I kind of work in that department for a while and understand the customer more. It's really a complicated thing to build a car. You don't just make something that looks cool and put a price tag on it. You really have to do your research and make sure the story's all right. Otherwise, nobody's going to buy it. Doesn't matter how cool it looks.
Yeah, true story. It's crazy how it's all complicated when you start digging a little bit deeper in the hole, and when you see how much time is invested, how much compromises are invested, and how much ideas are invested, I can say, to create just one simple car. When I say simple, it's not simple at all. Like,
right. Yeah.
Opens your views on everything, and you're like, oh my god, these people are doing some wonderful jobs here. We should all
Yeah.
respect them more because of that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I have a logic that I always went about anything is that until I do something, I can't judge it because I know a lot of people who judge CEOs or
Right.
anybody about them, and then they get to that position and they're doing it 3 times worse. And
Yeah.
I realize that I should never do that until I'm on that position because I never know how it is until I see it.
That's a very good philosophy. I like that.
Oh, thank you very much. I saw that when I was in many different fields that when I got to the position it was much harder than it looked to me.
Sure.
So John, besides doing amazing work, I see the green car is appearing and showing here. Except for doing your amazing work online, posting and a job, I know that you give lectures also. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, my gig that kind of got me into that was teaching at Concept Design Academy. So, Concept Design Academy, as I mentioned before, I think it's kind of like Brainstorm. It's a school for just people that want to draw, but specifically, mostly people that want to be in the entertainment design industry. So, background design, storyboarding, character design, and then my area is vehicle and mech design stuff.
Okay.
But a lot of us artistic people aren't the best in front of a large crowd or whatever, making lectures and all that. And I just got used to, speaking in class and all that. And I found that, I've started to, through that process of teaching, analyze what I'm doing. So, drawing is very right-brained. It's not verbal at all, and you just kind of do it. But in the process of teaching and saying, well, how do I explain what I'm doing, why I'm doing things, I started to be really logical about the whole process.
Yeah.
And being able to explain that so I could teach it. Otherwise, you just say, okay, just kind of look at what I'm doing and not understand why. And it also improved me as an artist and a designer. I was thinking about why I'm doing things. Why does that look good? Why does that not look good? And it helps me be more self-critical in that way. So, doing a little bit of lecturing, not a whole lot at this point. Mostly teaching. It's a great school. So if you're in the LA area, check it out. This term,
When is the
Darren
next term
Quatch.
starting? When is your next term starting do you have the term this year for your vehicle
Yeah,
design?
we're like 7th term out of 10
I see.
for this one, and then I think the next one starts. Let's see, January, February, March.
It's around when?
It might be in June.
So guys,
Uh,
check for sure. Check their website. I will post it on the YouTube. And if you want to learn from the best, you need to go to John. I am honestly telling you, you can learn a lot from this guy. So please do
Yeah.
check it out. And if you are interested, go and apply and learn from the best.
yeah, and this term is Darren Quatch is my co-teacher,
Oh,
and he does like super kick-ass mech stuff, and he's getting into 3D modeling and doing some amazing stuff in Blender. Just really amazing process, which makes me feel like I'm getting kind of behind the times because I'm not doing that right now.
he
But
uses Blender.
yeah, that's what he's been doing lately. Him and Von Ling doing Blender a lot. Von used to be like a mostly Moto guy, but he's been doing Blender
Yeah, I saw.
lately.
I'm gonna invite him on the stream. That's for sure because
Yes.
they're both using
Nice.
Blender, and I
Yeah.
want to invite him, and we can design something together in the Blender and support
Yeah.
the community of Blender, the rejected artists.
And, the thing I like about like what Darren and Vaughn have been doing too is like they're not just using it as a straight like 3D modeling tool. They're doing some really cool visual output with it. So like Darren was doing these flying wireframe models, and then
Yeah,
it's not just a static rendering. You can do all sorts of stuff, animations and
oh yeah, the
Yeah,
possibility is
effects.
limitless
yeah,
possibility.
it's another fantastic tool. And people tend to talk about digital tools, and they go, well, you really need to draw with a pen well, because you can't rely on a digital tool because might go away or whatever. But then you think about it, it's like a ballpoint pen is a very sophisticated tool, and it's just another tool. So just because you plug it into a wall with electricity doesn't mean it's any less valid.
I like that.
It's something, just a little aside story here. The ballpoint pen technology is something that China was unable to do. The technology to produce the ballpoint itself is very, very highly technical and very difficult to do. So they've only been able to produce a ballpoint pen in China maybe in the last couple years because it's such a precise technology. It's even those little super cheap ones.
I didn't know that.
So you have high tech in your hand, even though it's only 17 cents or free. Pick up one from the office or something.
That's crazy, man. It's like, oh my god, I didn't know that China recently succeeded to copy anything, because they copied everything. I mean, how crazy that technology is when it took them so long to do it.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, it's like they were so isolated for so many years. They didn't get exposure to anything else for such a long time, so they basically have to kind of reach out and learn from other existing companies, like how to do things.
Yeah.
The difference is you have to learn, what is learning from something and what is just straight up copying it. And there's way too much of that going on. So they're still developing their own kind of unique style for car design. They don't really have a look yet.
I know.
But there's a lot of really talented people that are working for the Chinese car companies now. So they're setting up studios in the LA area. I think Geely, I think GAC, GAC. Oh, you say GAC or you just say GAC?
GAC.
But,
I would say GAC.
So, yeah, I know. It sounds funnier. That's what I like.
Yeah.
So E-Velocity, the electric car company, they're called Canoe now. It's like you went from the super badass E-Velocity name. Now you're Canoe, like you go down a stream. I don't know what they were thinking with that.
I know. I saw somewhere when you're speaking about badass. I saw somewhere the post from Elon Musk. Somebody posted that the front grille of Tesla looks like a cat's nose. And Elon Musk responded to his post on Twitter, yes, it is that. And I was like,
that's exactly what we're doing.
And I was like, man, the cat is always there in car design. You can't escape it.
You can't escape the cat.
Yeah.
It's okay if you're Jaguar then, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, even when we used cat as inspiration for the Chinese company. So, I mean, cats are always there somehow in car design. Big, small.
Well, that is funny because my buddy that worked at Toyota, they were showing a model at some point. No, it wasn't Toyota, it was a different company.
Okay.
But anyway, they showed it to an executive or something, and she goes, "It looks like a cat. I like it." It's the same thing. It's like, where's the cat come from? It must be the shape of the headlights or something. I don't know.
No, I don't know. The cats are everywhere in car design.
I never really thought about that until you said that. It's like, well, I know that story, but that's interesting.
So I mean, some stuff are changing today in some directions that we never thought they would.
Right.
We have one more question. Let's see. Which are the biggest obstacles you have overcome in your career for both of you? So, John, you want to first tackle that?
I think generally speaking, it's going to be just how competitive it is. So, like when you go to school, not everybody gets a job. Not everybody gets their dream job. And my dream job was to be in a car studio on the West Coast. Okay. I didn't want to go to Detroit because I'm a West Coast, born and raised on the West Coast. But before I went to Art Center, I'm like, I don't care if I'm a janitor, cleaning the floors. I just want to be in the studio and I want to see it happen. But you just have to realize that there are very few design jobs out there. So when you're at school and you're not at the top of your class, it's not likely you're going to get a job right away. You gotta work harder or differentiate yourself somehow. Just pick up the pace a little bit. So I'd say that's the biggest barrier. And then also industrial design, getting into that business, you really need to have the degree to get jobs in most places.
Yeah.
Um, and that degree costs a lot of money. And I don't like how much it costs right now. I
We are
look at
speaking
like
about
what
industrial
center.
design, right? We are speaking about industrial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's really kind of a shame that it costs so much money because when you get into the industry, you're not a doctor, you're a designer,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are going to be paying that off for maybe the rest of their life. And I really don't like to see that. It's unfortunate. So it is possible. I think concept design, the degree isn't really as important at all. It's all about your skill level and your portfolio.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think in industrial design, it's more important because there's so much business you have to understand. So you have to have a whole bunch of communication schools, business, communication skills, which of course I do not have very good communication skills, uh, and kind of business sense as well because you're selling a product. So you have to understand those foundations. So a lot of that goes with the drawing skills that you learn when you're in school.
I see.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of the biggest barrier. And the drawing thing, just skill is just it's secondary. That it just happens. You just work hard and it happens. And it was never really an issue with me. I did okay. I just love to do it so much. I mean that's the thing. If you don't love to do it, then find a different career.
Yeah. I've seen many people when you mentioned that I loved it. I see many people say that they love their job, especially about in design field. I love it. I want to do it, and when the problems start, they all run away. And
Yeah.
I saw that so many times. Like, no, dude,
Well, yeah.
you don't love it.
I
Like,
I think that's the thing. It's in my industry, industrial design, it's all about problem solving.
yeah,
You have to really be willing to confront problems and try to solve them and enjoy that process. Um, because you'll sketch something really cool and then you'll get some information about this is too expensive a solution or we need to put some safety feature in here and we have to package around it and it feels like it's destroying your design, but you should take that upon as a challenge, like, okay, we can come up with a solution that is economical, producible in the factory, it's safe for the customer, and they're still going to like the look at it.
hmm,
Concept design industry, it's a lot easier because a lot of those things go out the window. You can make the Death Star 24 karat gold, right?
yes,
It's just conceptual. I mean, you're not actually making it. Um, but at the same time, you have to think about like my buddy worked on the Batmobile, the last Batman versus Superman, that
man,
Batmobile.
that's super cool. Oh my
And it was
god.
an actual driving car, so they had to package it around real wheels and tires.
Yeah, that
You,
was
you
hard.
could just sketch whatever size you wanted, and this thing had to have working suspension and all that, and be able to see out of it, just general stuff like that. So uh, there is a certain level of reality that comes with concept design as well. It's just a different reality.
Yeah, much less than industrial design or anything else. So the industrial design, when you're producing, I always say I have so much respect for those people who produce because it's so
Yeah.
hard to make something like. I mean, in concept art, I can draw whatever. I mean, you can draw anything you want, but most of the stuff you can draw and it can be usable. And in real life, it's totally different story.
Right.
Especially when engineers start talking about. By the way, when we spoke about the cat, guess who joined us on the stream? It's Arthur Martins. Hey Arthur.
Hey, nice.
So Arthur is here. The cat is here.
You got to interview Arthur too. He's
I
been doing some sweet stuff.
I told him to join. He said he'll think about it, and I said you think about it. And now I'm making him feel uncomfortable because I'm saying that in front of so many people that he will need to respond.
Yeah, on the spot.
On the spot. You're on the
His
spotlight now, Arthur.
his ears were turning red. We're talking about him with all the creative pot stuff.
Yeah, we talked about Creative Pod before. If I don't know since when he's here, but we talked about the creative pot. His style is great, guys. If you haven't checked Arthur's style, you can check it, and it's car design, super polished style, different from what I do and what John does mostly. John, by the way, your style is always what I admire about you.
Retro style.
Not just
style.
retro, just not just retro. It's something in between digital and retro, and there is something so special about it that I can never tell to myself what it is. So can you maybe tell us what's the secret ingredient to this? Is it your background since you're for a long time on the industry, or is it because of Alias, or what made it so special? Because it's very unique. When you see it on the internet, this is John.
Well, I think mine is like a colored pencil style. That's kind of why it's kind of different. Okay. So when I was going to school and we were doing the big vellum renderings, 20 by 40 renderings with marker and chalk and colored pencil, I spent a lot of time doing the colored pencil stage of things, like detailing. And when I got into doing digital, I never was doing a whole lot of painting, so I thought of things in more of a kind of sketching, colored pencils over like Canson marker, kind of that feel. That's how my brain is set up to do things in process. And I also didn't like to use paths. You construct stuff with paths, because to me that's not drawing, that's more modeling. And I do enough modeling that I wanted to differentiate my 2D from my 3D.
I see.
But I've always been kind of looking to do a process that makes the digital look a little bit more lifelike, more analog. So I'm, big into like Sid Mead stuff, of course, but I started to figure out who some of these guys are that were the traditional illustrators. So there's a guy named Jack Lanewood, who does all the, or did all the Revell model kit box art in the 60s and 70s. And, a lot of traditional illustrator people that did vehicles, Roy Cross, Roy Huxley, British airplane illustrator guys, and they always had a lot of like texture to their paint application. So when I do these brush strokes, I have this brush. I'll zoom it in. I'm not sure if the audio and the video are linked in time, but
no worries.
Basically, this brush is like
you're delaying
like
a little bit, but don't worry. Yeah. They will understand.
So it's like a pastel-looking kind of glob, kind of squarish angled glob. And so when I apply this, it's got some tooth to it. And if I push it down, really hard, it's solid, but it's got a little bit of a feathered kind of edge to it. And just that texture in there, I think it adds a lot of character. Because a lot of people, they'll do the paths and they'll do a perfect gradation, a calculated gradation. But if I'm doing a gradation, I just want to do it kind of just with my arm in there. So there's something that's imperfect about it that gives it some more life. That's just the idea.
Yeah, I see, because it does give a lot of because we car designers, when I look, we don't use that kind of brushes. I mean, most of us use smooth brush and that's it pretty much.
Yeah, because you want to make the car look nice.
Yeah.
And clean, and my cars look a little bit dirty maybe, or a little bit, like the paint wasn't applied perfectly, or but it's just a little bit of humanity in it. I think that's the idea.
Gives it so much personality. I can see your personality in that car.
Right. Oh, that's good.
So let's see what Arthur says. Can we? Or you wanted to say something? Sorry if I interrupted you.
No.
So what does Arthur say? We have to read this so everybody knows why he's avoiding my podcast. So he said that his English is really bad and that he is shy. But he is saying, we are putting him again under the spotlight, but he said something very nice, and he said, John is my hero. Love his stuff so much.
That's really cool. It was great to meet Art a couple times. Like we were saying, the car industry is so small, and I've met him at parties before and stuff. He's in LA, he's around.
Yeah.
But his style is definitely something unique. So if you look at Dead Brush, it's kind of his digital sketching handle.
I know Dead Brush.
It's very distinctive, and you know that he's good and very influential by the number of people that copy his style.
I agree. I agree about that.
So that's the only unfortunate thing is just a lot of so much that's like after him uh, that it looks like everybody's doing the same thing a little bit. But I say he's the originator for a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like I think he's one of the most influential people these days in terms of kind of look and the way he constructs his sketches, renders materials, all that stuff. It's very consistent.
Hmm.
And I think it's cool to have a consistent style. Like your style, Darko, I can recognize your design pretty well.
Thank you very
Like you
much.
definitely have your own voice that goes into that stuff. And when your own voice aligns with something that people like, and that's the perfect combination.
It's a
You
win-win
know,
situation, right?
if your style is way funky and nobody likes it, it's like you make yourself happy, but it's not good for design.
I agree because my style was like that before, but I learned a little bit from you, a little bit from Arthur, a little bit from a lot of people, and that's how I implement. I'm always telling that to people because my style developed during time, like everybody else's
Yeah.
style.
Yep.
But
So
you can't be selfish when you are developing style. You have to listen to your audience, what the audience says, because after all, you are working for the audience, not just for yourself. And I think that many
yes.
designers don't see that today, which is for me quite surprising. That they are like, I'm gonna paint for myself, and that's it, pretty much.
Well, that's what I say is the difference between being an artist and being a designer is as an artist, you paint sunflowers in a field to
Yeah,
make yourself happy. Nobody buys your paintings, and you kill yourself. That's the Van Gogh story in a nutshell.
yeah,
And maybe people appreciate it later. But if you really want to make a living, what design is making something to make somebody else happy. So even if it makes you miserable, there are some design projects where it's like, I do not like this at all. It's nothing I would ever buy, but it fits the customer. This is what the customer wants. And that's what
absolutely.
good design is. So it's all about empathy. You have to think about other people.
Yeah, that's the right word, empathy. That's the right word. So we have more questions. We have hello, Pete Norris is here. Pete Norris or Pete, I'm not sure
Nice.
if I'm
See,
pronouncing.
wow, all the this heavy hitters are coming out. He's another guy you have to have on. I'd love to see his
Yeah,
process
I
in
know.
live.
I'm gonna have him for sure on, and I was thinking of him, Arthur. I'm telling too many names now. People will know who's coming. That it won't be secret. But I wanted him because I know he did that Blade Runner thing where he modeled the whole
Yes.
car. I want to see that. Arthur is saying, "Thank you so much." Right back at you, man. Arthur, you're not giving me any nice compliments. I'm really sad now. I'm fishing for compliments, man, and I'm not getting anything. I'm joking.
You're the best. It goes without saying.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's the thing.
yeah.
We all
I'm,
know you're the best.
I'm joking. I'm joking as usual.
Yeah.
It's my
That's
character.
why I'm on your show. You're the popular one.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the one. I'm the prince, as they like to call me. So we have a question from Michael Mills. How do you break out of your comfort zone when doing vehicle rendering? My style of vehicle rendering is super clean with pads and so on. Always wanted to tackle a more painterly style. Just go for it. And where could I download your brushes, John? So he's technically asking, how do you transition from the smooth brushes that we talked about, that most car
Right.
designers use, to the style like yours?
Hmm. Uh, well, you're going to have to not use paths to start out with. I think it's but yeah, how do you do that? I would say I would maybe start practicing with just drawing some spheres. So I on my YouTube channel, I have a demo where I'm showing, the understanding of how you sketch a sphere, like paint, reflections, all that sort of stuff. But basically, with that, I'm not using any airbrushes. I'm using just this pastel-y looking brush. And the Photoshop standard set has a brush that looks like this. So this set that I'm working with now, there's some brushes that were from Craig Mullins that are mixed in here. But generally, these there's this row here that you will see when the video syncs to the audio. Kind of this angled pastel looking thing, and that's primarily the only one I use. So I downloaded these because Craig Mullins is kind of one of the original digital paint guys.
Yeah.
So for the concept design industry, he was doing this style before pretty much anybody else. And there's a lot of funky brushes in his set that they're fun to play with, but basically I'm using only one type of brush, and it's this pastel-y one. But it may seem a little bit slow because you really have to build stuff up slowly. And I don't know. I think I would just say look at my demo. I don't want to be like self-promoting, but I think that might be the best way to like, get into it.
Please do
What's that?
self-promote. Please do self-promote. You're here to
Oh,
promote yourself as much as you want. I don't have
yeah, and
anything
I'll give
against
my PayPal address if you want. Just send me money for no reason to.
it.
I can do
Absolutely.
that.
Please, $1,000 to John immediately, everybody.
Why not? There's no shame anymore.
I get the half.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, check
You
it.
get your cut. We'll negotiate that. I don't think you get half, but maybe 20%.
Let's 40. Let's get it 40. 40 is okay. Okay, wait. I will find your channel and I will post it in the link. So what I heard as I'm looking for this on your YouTube. Tell me, you're using only one brush, as you said, mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly it's the one brush, and how much?
And I just scale it up and scale it down all the time. So.
But do you use any other brush? You use blending, or how do you blend the surfaces? That's what I want to know because it's interesting.
Yeah, see, it's just I think just put yourself in the mindset of using colored pencils, and it's all about pressure application.
Okay.
So I have my flow set to pressure sensitive, and if I do like a highlight on something, I'm just kind of doing heavy pressure, and then I'm feathering off. So.
Yeah.
And then you can cross hatch on that, but it's exactly like using a colored pencil. It's just the exact same.
There is no the brush where you blend everything. It's just one brush.
Nope.
Really?
Nope. Yeah. Sometimes if it's a big surface like on the roof here, I may go in there and just do an airbrush hit over it, but not completely covering what's there. So there's still that texture. Mm-hmm. So just smooth it out like that a little bit. But like for the drawing, that's like 0.1% of the actual work that's done. That's like right at the very end. I might do that. Another one of my secrets is I'm always working with a toned paper. So these model box things that I've been doing, I usually have a little bit of an off-white background.
Okay.
So it's like that. I just added it there. It's a little bit of a cream color. So basically, when you hit with the white highlights, or like where the sun is hitting in the corner, you're really minimal application of the white. So that white, it's like the brightest thing on the page. So the background's not brighter. Nothing else in the car is brighter. But these little pinpoint highlights, it's pure white, and it just makes them feel a lot brighter because there's nothing else on the page to that level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. Interesting. Totally different from my style, and I never expected that you work like that because car design industry has totally different philosophy when it comes to design and teaching and everything. So this is very new and fresh for me.
Another one to look at. So I'm going to write a couple names down here.
Sure.
So we can look at stuff. So definitely wow, look at this font from the last thing I was doing.
It's exactly goes with the Jack name, but with the Jack Sparrow name, that font.
Yeah.
So
Jack Lang, and then
Jack Lanewood. Am I pronouncing?
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Okay.
It's either Lanewood or Linwood, I'm not sure. He actually taught at Art Center, but he retired before I started. Mm-hmm. But he's one of those super influential guys. He could do like a super polished looking rendering all with marker.
Ooh,
you just make markers look like you airbrushed them. It's amazing. So Fitz and Van, they're guys that worked for Pontiac, did automotive artwork in the 60s primarily.
That looks now like a fairy tale with that font, Fitz and Van. Yeah. Go read Fitz and Van, guys.
Okay.
And okay, Fitzpatrick and Von Kaufman, and Once Upon a Time. Oh my God.
And then I'm just gonna throw a whole bunch of names out there. So those two guys, they're like gouache guys.
Yeah.
So you'll see if you look really close, you'll see the textural application of gouache with a brush. Um, Fitz and Van, the cars are like perfect. So a lot of their stuff, it's seamless. So that'll be more airbrushed. But if you look at Roy Huxley, he did uh, artwork for Matchbox and model kits in England.
Mhm.
This is something more legible here. And then guys that aren't gouache guys, definitely look at. These are more guys to look at for design that I really like. And
Yokoyama. Okay.
yeah, so these are like mech ship design guys in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, there is always design guys from Mac and stuff like that are super influential in car design. Everybody like watches their stuff, which is crazy, you know.
Yeah,
Have you met ever Ken Okoyama?
I haven't. I've been to the same Japanese restaurant in my area of work.
Okay.
He did a sketch on the wall. It's like, oh, there's a Ken sketch. He sketched the Frye Enzo and signed it. It's kinda
Oh
cool.
my God, that's so cool. I mean, why I remember him when we spoke about Japanese culture and everything, and the Asian styles and everything. I remember when I was watching, I was very young. I was 18 years or 19, something like that, 12 years ago, and there was Ken on Discovery Channel, and they were speaking how he won, how he got to Pininfarina, and he sent sketches of his characters. You know, he worked in car design industry for a long time, but he sent only sketches of the characters. And out of 500 people, the design manager saw his work, and he decided to bring him because of that. And then he made the Birdcage and so and everything. I mean, that's crazy, you know. You send mech designs and they accept you as a car designer. But now,
Well, that's interesting.
yeah, can you
I,
imagine that? Like they put a risk on him, and he came and designed
yeah.
these.
Well, see, that's the thing. What I said about kind of going to school earlier. It's like if you're not like the top of your class, you have to offer something different.
Yeah,
So, if everybody is sketching like Art Martins, the world would be a different place. But it'd be so much more competitive. It's like, well, how do you pick one? So you have to do something different. You don't want to copy somebody else. You want to maybe take some influence and mix it with something else. So, I've mixed all sorts of different influences together. So, like when I was going to school, you had Sid Mead and like Nick Pugh. Nick Pugh's sketches were going around. So people had taken photos of his like senior presentation,
okay.
and before the internet, people just passed these photos around. It's like you'd see this little tiny photo of a marker drawing that he did, and you're like, how did he do that? Just like everybody wanted to sketch like Nick Pugh.
Yeah.
So every generation has their own kind of idols, I guess. But you can't just copy somebody's style outright. Just like in China, you can learn from it. You can buy an American dishwasher and tear it apart and see what's inside and get ideas of how things are done and then make it your own. That's really what it's all about, is make it your own.
Yeah, you always have to put your style, but when we speak about new stuff, a lot of designers, young ones, they're like, I'm gonna make something new. And for me, for something to look good, you have to have experience, because the best ones can bend the rules that already exist and make something new. That's from my experience. When you look at
Yeah.
when you look at the designers who made change in the world and made something totally new, like Mark Newson, the
Yeah.
industrial design guy. I mean, if you don't know, guys, who Mark Newson is, he's the industrial design guy. He designed the chair, which was totally from aluminum in the 70s, and it was revolutionary back then. And for example, he worked for a very, very long time in the design field until he did that. He worked for 6 or 7 years, and a lot of guys rush when they start doing the new style and everything. I think that the person needs to know style so he can bend them and make something new. That's from my
Yeah,
experience.
you have to develop your eye for taste as well. So um, I think people can easily come up with new ideas, but how do you make it like proportioned correctly and be palatable to the eye and be attractive? So new can be very jarring. People like stuff that they're comfortable with. So uh, if you're a chef and you're making some new dish of some sort, it has to have some basis in something that already exists,
Yeah,
and the balances have to be comfortable and familiar. So it can't be overly sour or overly salty. So there are conventions. So if you make something that's like completely radically new, it's going to be like way too alien for people to be able to enjoy it.
I agree. I agree absolutely. People don't like big changes. They don't like.
No, we're all a little bit scared of change, whether we like to admit it or not.
Yeah.
Even designers are proud about, oh, I don't like the norm or whatever. And then you see what they dress like, and they all dress in black turtlenecks like Steve Jobs or something. So it's like, that's not very adventurous.
That's so true. That's so true. Like,
It's
I
like you're not going to dress like a total clown and just like, it's like there's always some comfort, and that really kind of shows you. You can't be too far off the grid, otherwise you're going to be, you know, all by yourself.
yeah, rejected completely. I know when you're designing a car companies are so scared of something new because they don't know how someone's gonna respond. And for them, new is like 20% change. It's not like in concept art 100% get change. It's always
Yeah.
20% maximum like that. Arthur has a great question, and he is asking something that
Who? Who's that?
Arthur Martins. Ah, yeah,
Never
that's
heard of it.
ah, okay. It's the Aquaman.
We're all right. That's right.
The Arthur, the Aquaman, the guy, in the pants. I think that Jason Momoa is acting as him. Okay, I'm joking now. They have the beard. So, John, how do you pick your colors? Do you color pick from other pictures, or you already know what works better?
Yeah, I don't color pick from other pictures.
That's
Um,
great.
but basically, I have my base color. So, like this car, it was this green in here.
Okay.
And if you're using like this type of color picker, um, I stay away from the far right of the panel. I really avoid saturation unless it's right in that little highlight area.
Yeah.
You stay away from there. You stay kind of in this area. So I never took like a lot of sophisticated painting classes at Art Center. So my color sense is uh, just kind of figuring out myself. But generally, you stay pretty neutral, and I pick my base color, and then when I'm reflecting sky tone, I'll go into like the blue, and then I'll just dust the airbrush over it. So I don't know if you can see that, but basically
We can.
I put just a little light, not a lot of pressure on the pen. So I'm getting that sky tone on top of the green, and
Okay.
then I color pick that, and that'll be my color for kind of the upper part of the roof. And then as it rolls over towards the other side, it'll get more pure blue. And
That's
then same kind of deal with like the ground tone that's coming through here. I'm just going over to the orange area, um, going to a tan, and then just dusting it over that green, and then color picking that.
yeah. That's
Um, but I do visually look at stuff, so I'm maybe color picking from reference of stuff I've looked at before. But at this point, I my cars I'm just rendering them during the day. So if I had to render a car at night, I haven't done a lot of those. I'd probably be looking at reference at least, but I try to just visually get reference from it as opposed to literally eyedropping off some
yeah.
other image. And I think I learned a little bit better that way too, because you're going, I kind of want that look, and then you're trying to emulate it manually. But if you eyedropper it, you're not really going through that process of physically mixing the color yourself on the
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
So you don't learn as much that way.
That is super informative. I mean, when you're doing it like that, because I mean that gives that subtle changes which make design amazing, And I love that a lot to see on everything. I admire how much effort you put, because as I said in the beginning, it's not a smooth brush on. You look how many moves I'm looking you. By the way, the internet is great because we are literally having a live. How you move, I see it immediately, and the guy see it immediately, and how much patience you have and effort you put to make just a wheel and stroke. It's not just one. If I was that doing, I would just put one, and that would be it pretty much.
Yeah, I wanted to look like it was done by hand a little bit in there. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not easy. It's not fast. I mean, it's somewhat fast. I think this is faster than doing gouache for sure. I don't like to paint because I don't like to. I am lazy, so I don't like to clean brushes and take out paint and all that stuff. I get to this, I just fire up my computer and I'm ready to go. It's just about lazy. That's what it is. But whatever your style is, if you're working professionally, it does have to be quick because they're paying you by the hour and you have deadlines. So,
absolutely.
my style for doing the work that people are paying me for on an hourly rate, it's not going to be this fully fleshed out rendered style. I'm going to do efficient stuff so they get the most value for their money.
Yeah, they always want to pay the least to get the best results, which is quite normal, to be honest.
Yeah. It's the business for sure.
Yeah, us as artists, we sometimes would like to paint something longer, but the client doesn't want to pay for that. That's how it goes. Both parties are right, to be honest. Like, the problem is that the one is paying.
Yeah.
Oh. So, the next question that I wanted to ask you was, the question was, because I put the name of this is how you paint with your soul, and we are talking mostly about that, but I want to steer the conversation a little bit in different angle because I know that there are a lot of young people watching this, and my main question would be, what kind of skills do you think the designer today needs to have to join the industry of car design? What is it that you would like to see, or the recruiters would like to see today?
I think it's important to look deeply at things and not on a superficial level.
Yeah.
But also really focus on things outside of what people are doing now. So I think Pinterest is such a good resource for looking up aesthetic ideas and stuff. But I think too many people have Pinterest boards that focus on what other people are sketching now.
Yeah.
Like if your Pinterest board looks like all of Daniel Simon's catalog and maybe some Arthur Martin's thrown in there and Darko Markovic
and John Frye
sketches. Is it Markovic or Markovic?
Markovic.
Markovic. Okay,
Yeah,
so right the first time.
That was good.
But yeah, so that's all these guys that I have listed. These are all old guys.
I agree, except for myself.
You can't look at future guys; they don't exist yet. So you really need to look outside of your area to bring something new into it. And these are vehicle design guys, but beyond that, I'm looking at artists that have nothing to do with car design or industrial design as well. So Wally Wood is one of my favorite artists. Comic book guys like Hergé did like Tintin, and when I was a kid I always looked at Asterix books. Just for the line quality, the attention to detail, some of the design stuff that's in there. And I'm into like illustrator guys too, like Bernie Fuchs, that they just do figurative stuff.
Yeah.
But like what they do with color and composition, and you can bring that into your work as well.
So you think that they should investigate a little bit outside the box, and they should learn something new, not just car design, but learn.
Yeah. Because that's a comment, is just when we look at portfolios, often it's like, well, this is just that person's style. So like I saw something the other day, somebody's project that we had worked with and were really familiar. It's really nice work. And then I saw this project come up in Behance, and it's like, it was so similar. It's like, did this person look at that other person's work? Because like even the background color was very distinctive, and it's like, well, it looks cool in both, but like, who's the first one to do it? That's what's important.
Yeah, there is a lot of that kind of stuff in my student days. I remember like people were copying other people's work, but also, for example, in Italy, I know how it is. I don't know how it's in USA. I hope it's a little bit different, because mostly they wanted us just to sketch regular cars, and they never wanted us to
Regular
design.
cars.
Yeah, they never wanted us to design something new. Italy is like that. Italy is looking for regular car design. You design a car for today. I don't know if that changed in the last 7 years. I hope it did.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's where the money is made, of course.
yeah, but if you're sketching the same car, somehow I don't think you can take a different route even in design. If you're doing
Oh, so
this,
not just the same type of car. You're talking about like the same look of car.
they are always aiming for the same look. That's my experience. Same
Yeah,
look.
like maybe playing it too safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
So
it?
it seems like the French do a better job these days, or at least I don't know. Maybe in the '90s. I don't know. Maybe they don't as much anymore. But they were doing radical stuff,
Yeah,
like
they
weird
have.
stuff like most like Japanese car companies, most American companies would never do because it's like no, that's just weird. We're not going to do that. Like the yeah, but the Avon time was a nice balance of weirdness with attractiveness and uh, like the Picasso, Renault stuff, Citroën especially, you know,
Citroen, yeah.
super radical,
I love
crazy
Citroen, man. I
stuff.
love it. I love Citroen. So much cool stuff.
Yeah,
Like they
yeah,
are doing some crazy. It's inspirational how they are thinking in both aesthetics and function. Like they are pushing really, really the boundaries.
yeah. Yeah,
But
so that's always refreshing. And that's what attracts good designers too. It's like I want to work at a place that you can do something, fun like that.
you know what was the place that I wanted to work always?
Where's that?
Mercedes Advanced Studio. That's where I wanted to work. That was for me.
Yeah.
It was a
I
dream.
think Mercedes does more kind of outside the box stuff now than they did when I was going to school. When I was going to school, it was very um, static.
Yeah.
And they actually I got a book on, I think when the S Class came out about probably 93 or something. But the design director had said if you advance quickly, you age quickly. And so their design philosophy at that point was just to be iterative and slowly change design. So 1 year from the next, more like Porsche 911 kind
Yeah.
of level of change. But I don't know how many years ago that really has changed quite a bit and doing some different stuff. They're still one of the more conservative companies, though. But why was Mercedes kind of your
They
dream company?
There was that LA Design Challenge, and they did some amazing stuff for that. And there was a race car, and when I saw that, I was like, "This is the place where I want to be." Somehow, the style I loved,
That's
that they are doing something new and fresh. And you remember LA Design Challenge? It was happening.
oh yeah.
Does it still
The
exist?
first year I did our studio. I did the entire thing.
Really? Like,
Yeah, it was like this little silver and orange buggy, and the whole idea was um, you can drive up in the mountains, and then you can go down to the beach in the afternoon and surf. Um, but that was like maybe 2003, 2004, around there. It was a long time ago.
yeah, a really long time ago.
There's pictures out there of it. It's like Honda C2C LA Design Challenge. Might be able to find it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of I like that to hear from you that it actually influenced where you wanted to work. So I mean, the studios do that for free, and there's no money exchanged for that. It's just kind of for fun. So to know that it has some value, it's nice to hear.
I think it has massive value because you see something new and fresh. I mean, I was never a typical car design guy, to be honest. I always wanted to design something new. I was never stuck in the real cars and like, okay, I want to improve this muscle here and I want to cut line and everything. I was always like, even my master project was a capsule, man. So, so it was always totally outside of the box.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what kind of leads you to entertainment design, I guess, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like your imagination kind of goes beyond the realms of what the car industry is doing. You need something more. You need more room to play.
Yeah, that's true. When Chris Bangle came, he came and he gave us the lesson, and he was like, "I want to see something crazy, guys. Something crazy you
Yeah.
design." And I was like, "Perfect. This is my moment." And I designed a buggy, a caterpillar, the caterpillar thing that it's how is it called in English? I'm sorry, my with an arm that's digging with an arm.
Yeah, yeah, like a backhoe probably.
Yeah, and I designed. It had 6 hours which were spinning in circles, so it can dig faster. And he saw it, and he was like, "Okay, Darko, not this far, not this far."
Oh, that's good. That's what you want. You want to rein it back.
Yeah, not this far.
That's
Get back.
good.
Come back, come back.
You can put that on your resume. I scared Chris Bangle.
Yeah, his lecture was amazing. I mentioned it already once, but his lecture was really good. He opened a, because Italy is very stiff, as I told you, when it comes to car design. Everything has to be precise as are existing. And when he came, it opened my eyes really, really. Like I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
this
Like
looks better. Like you know,
like don't be afraid.
don't be afraid to push a little bit different. Yeah. By the way, we are on 1 hour and 20 minutes, so you know, and
Oh wow.
we don't have we can prolong a little bit because I'm having a lot of fun. Don't know if you have the time, but for me it's not a problem.
Yeah, I don't know how long before YouTube says you're too long. Can you just go on forever?
I have no idea, to be honest. I think we can as long as we
Right.
want, guys.
I'm fine. It's Sunday. I'm not really busy. No
Okay,
chores to do today.
I can do it
Um,
for 45 minutes more, and then I need to go. But for 45, I think that's enough.
all right. Well, let's find out more about you, Darko.
About me, I think everybody knows everything about me. I'm boring. I'm boring everybody with myself.
I want to know more about Serbia. I haven't been to Serbia.
Yeah.
I told you, we did a European trip a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and the closest I got was probably Czech Republic.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean,
Far
still
away.
far away.
Far away, far away. Well,
Yeah.
Serbia is quite different. It's totally different than people mostly expect. I'm not gonna talk too long because this is a design stream, but I have to speak a little bit nice about my country. I mean, it's totally different from what newspaper tell you. We don't eat people, that's for sure.
Mhm.
But we eat a lot of meat, but we don't eat people. And and you
I've
can
never heard that.
and you can I mean in 2011 this is the number one place in the world for parties in front of Ibiza in Miami, if you can imagine that.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
food is great, a lot of meat if people like, of course, meat. There is other stuff, but people mostly get surprised with how food is high quality. I remember when I brought the Argentinian guy here and he came and he said the meat is almost on the same level as our, and I was like, nice.
That's good because Argentina meat is some of the best.
Yeah, I heard that also. I tried it in Milan. I liked it. And what else I can tell you? It's a country of beautiful women, that's for sure. I don't think I ever saw that many beautiful women in one place. So they're my biggest inspiration when it comes to design because there is nothing else to see here. so
What do you drink over there?
everything, man. But mostly we have our drink. It's called rakia, and it's stronger than vodka, but it's made from plum. From plum is the
Plum.
yeah, the plum is the original one, and
Yeah.
I will send you a bottle. That's the best way to explain it, and it's super strong. People don't realize because it's very sugary, and you can feel it. And most of them drink four, and then they realize that they are dead. Like so that's it pretty much. But you are always welcome to come to Serbia. Anybody who
Yeah, I
wants
know.
to come.
I need to make time to do that. I'm trying to get more worldly and travel places, and that's
You would like it here. There is a lot of stuff to see, and I'm joking when I say there is not a lot of stuff to see, but there is a lot of stuff to see from because we are a very old nation. People mostly don't know
Right.
that, but there is a
Well,
lot of stuff to see.
to get back, a segue onto some design art stuff.
Yeah.
Mucha, the painter,
Okay.
Alphonse Mucha, he did the Slav epic
Oh, really?
murals, and there's the history of Serbia goes back to the Slav Republic or whatever. There's some history there that's
Yeah.
overlapping, but I don't know if you're familiar with his style.
I haven't
So
seen
it's
it.
like early, you probably recognize it. So early 1900s, kind of Art Nouveau stuff. He did a lot of poster art.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but these murals that he did, and it's one thing I really wanted to see when I was over there, and I didn't get a chance. Giant, like 20-foot tall murals about the history of kind of the culture of the area. And he did them. I don't know how many years he worked on them, but it was like a traveling presentation that these murals were rolled up. These giant, they look like carpets when they're rolled up, and they were actually stored in the United States somewhere for decades because I think there was some money that wasn't paid and somebody owed somebody, and there's some
Nice.
feelings. And they were not seen for many, many years, and they kind of rediscovered them. They got sent back to Europe. I think they're maybe in Czech Republic. They're owned by a small town, so Prague wanted them for their national museum, and they don't have the rights to them. So this little town has the rights. So they're not easy to see. But yeah, that's another guy. So if you look at like Mucha's work, and I look at your work, I can see if you looked at his work, you might get some ideas for form language and what you do with line and balance of lines and how they work together. There's somebody you can pick up from that, even though he's not a car designer. So that's an example of going outside your area to find some good influence.
I will have to check that for sure. I love going outside the area of my work because I think, as we talked and as I said, we said already in the stream, you need to get out of the comfort zone, and many people can't do that because they're afraid. But it's the most important thing ever, because it opens the views, totally opens the views.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to. There's one thing I do because I work kind of with a lot of subtlety.
Yeah.
As I'm working on these, sometimes I'll flatten everything, and I'll just adjust value and contrast.
You don't like to have many layers, as I can see.
No, I manage them. I maybe it's from getting burned by having a Photoshop crash many years ago or something.
Yeah.
But I just kind of keep track of stuff. So I floated that line drawing on top of everything for a while, and I don't really need it so much anymore. So I can just be drawing over it.
Yeah, I think nothing gets a designer angry as does a crash of the software. I think when you're doing something, doing, and you have the feeling that you're going in the right direction, all of a sudden like crash, and it breaks your spirit literally. That's my experience.
It does. But of course, the second time you have to do everything, it's always faster, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's better. Yeah, I lost some work many years ago. My battery backup failed and the power went out, and I lost I don't know how many hours of work.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But it was like a paid job as well, so it was just money lost at that point.
Yeah. My hard drive once crashed with 40 gigabytes of work for a client, and I think I cried for one night, but after that everything was okay because I recovered it and it was working, so yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But it was a mess, to be honest.
Yeah, I have to get a good backup system going now because I'm going to be working on my book. You're working on your book, which will come out when, this year or next year?
My book is coming out hopefully this year. 99% is getting out this year around November. I'm working on it, and I can't wait to finish it.
Yeah, it's a long time coming. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, man. So much stuff.
Did you start your Kickstarter yet?
No. I'm preparing everything. I can now say something when you're asking me about the book. There's going to be a cinematic. I'm making a trailer cinematic for it. So that's one more thing. I decided to kill myself, like I'm not killing myself already, and I'm gonna make a cinematic, and it's gonna be a trailer of around 2.5 minutes, like for a movie, and it's gonna be super fun. So I'm working on that mostly now.
Cool. Well, don't rush it. Enjoy it.
Yeah. I stopped enjoying for a long time.
Well, feel pressure on yourself. Take a break.
I was always like that. I'm half dead, man, but you're speaking with a half dead Darko, but that's the way it is. So what kind of book are you working on? I know you published one, right, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, that was just kind of a test one. So last year I did some work for 3D Total magazine. They produced some books, and I did a section, the first, I think it's 48 pages of a kind of how-to book for beginners. But the book that I'm going to do is going to just be my artwork, just really general. I don't have like a big story like you do. Mm-hmm. So mine's a little bit lazier version. It's just going to be like artwork and some explanation behind it. But I got to figure out how I'm going to organize it
How many
But
pages
yeah,
will it
that's
have?
um, I'm thinking in terms of, I want a good heft to it.
Hmm.
I don't want a little thin thing. So it's all about like people feel they get a large value when they buy it.
Okay,
Um, so it'll be like soft bound, horizontal format, maybe 200 pages.
that's a lot.
Yeah. I've just been keeping an eye on like how much work I have up to this point. But the hard thing is, and you probably know, it's just like the work that you do today always usually feels like better than the stuff you were doing yesterday.
I agree.
And and as you go along, you feel like you have a lot of work, and then you look at like where you started, and you're like, I don't want to put that in there. It's not to the same level.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I'll be at a point where I'm like, yeah, this is all good. It's worth putting in here, and just kind of go with it. But I got to learn some software for the book design and layout. Which one are you using? Are you using the Adobe?
I'm using for the layout. For the moment, I'm not working on layout, but I will use InDesign for that because it's the best software. I strongly
Yeah.
recommend it for everybody because it's so much faster.
Okay.
But I can also tell you, everybody. I mean, it's not a secret for a long time, but Spiridon is gonna be my layout guy. We agreed that 2 years
Oh,
ago.
nice.
2 years ago we agreed that, and but the problem with my book, because I always want to make everything problematic as usual in my life,
Sure.
the biggest problem is that the book is not a regular book, and he can't organize it by himself. So I have first to organize it and then give it to him, so he organizes it because there is a text, there is explanation, there is everything. So it's gonna be a double job for that, and I'm using InDesign for that, and I strongly advise everybody because it's one hell of a software.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the one I'm looking at. I did kind of a prototype test run book, and I just did it through a website called Blurb.
Yeah.
And their software is really easy to use, and actually did pretty much 90% of what I needed to do anyway. And the fonts they had were all good, and it's like, yeah, this works good. But it was a very quick one to put together. But I wanted to get a sense of how stuff looked on the page at a specific scale. So for the 20 people that got the book, I really appreciate them picking it up, and I'm going to give them a special deal when the new book comes out, because that first one was very expensive considering it was such a small production run.
Yeah. How much was the book?
I think it was around 45, 50 with shipping maybe.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a very big book. But if you're not doing a large production through this company, it's just expensive. So I didn't want to sell a lot of them because I didn't want to put that many super expensive books out there. And I really appreciate everybody that caught it when I had it posted for a short time for sale. And
So you didn't have publisher. You published it by yourself, everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's a pretty important thing, is having a good publisher that can get it out there, because it's easy to make a book, but to get it in the hands of people
Super hard.
is difficult. And I want my book to be available basically mostly to students. I think they're the ones that can get the most out of it.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to have it in stores, at schools.
They are your main public, right?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, for sure.
They will learn a lot from you, that's for sure. I mean, by the way, we have a question. I just saw that. The question is, I hope Scott Robertson How to Design is coming one day. That's not a question, that's a commentary. Well, we also hope that Scott will publish one more book, because we all grew up on his books.
I think he is doing another book, because I saw him post on Instagram. He did some boat renderings lately,
I saw that, yeah.
and I think he did mention something about publishing something new.
I think he's literally like what the milk was for children in 90s and 80s and 70s and 60s. That's Scott Robertson for car designers and concept artists. Like literally everybody of us grew up on his books.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to bring him on stream, but not now, maybe later. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. He's a really good guy to talk to. I went to his studio a few years ago.
Okay.
place. It's amazing. You know, he does just fantastic work, and to see his files of his old drawings, you know, these flat files, and like I draw small and pretty tight,
Yeah.
but his stuff is another level. I mean, it's fantastic, and just well constructed. I mean, if you want to learn like technical skills from anybody, his technical skills are, you know, some of the best in the business for sure.
Yeah,
And
he's
you know, his perspective construction is right. You know, I just kind of bash things together and fix them if they look weird, because I'm, like I said, I'm lazy, so
yeah.
I don't spend the time to do a lot of the construction that I should. Um, but yeah, his are just spot on. Just like, this is how you want to teach people to draw for sure.
I remember seeing his stuff and I was like, how do I get to this level? Like, this is insane. And then you see that it's a book where you learn from. It blew my mind. It literally blew my mind.
And
Open.
it's so good when people, you know, take the time to share that. So the how to draw and how to render books that he did with Thomas Reilinger, I don't know his last name,
Unfortunately,
but
neither do I. But
the work that they had to do to put those together, it's so much work, and you know, it's so nice that they took the time to share that with industrial design community. It's like all
absolutely,
this knowledge and skill stuff.
it's years of knowledge you gathered in one book, which is like great stuff for everybody to see.
Yeah.
We have a question. So, hi Edes, I hope I'm pronouncing it good. How far can you push a design work in order to make something fresh without going into fantasy?
Hmm.
7
7. I think the answer is 7, right?
is always the answer.
So I kid, but basically, you know, the difficult thing is it's so hard to like put a measure on that, and because like design is subjective,
Yeah.
meaning there's no right or wrong to it. It's all about how one person sees it. You just have to understand your customer. So what are you doing it for? If you're just doing it for yourself, you know, you can push it, but you know, you put it on social media. That's a nice thing about, you know, being able to share things with, you know, 500,000 people online quite easily, is you very quickly get a sense of if people like it or not. You don't understand why they like it or they don't like it, but you know, if I put out 2 sketches the same time of day, like Monday morning 9 o'clock, and then the next week I put one on the Instagram, whatever, Monday morning at 9 o'clock, and one week it gets 1,000 likes, the next week it gets 500 likes.
Yeah.
2 different sketches, one is getting half the attention of the other. So you can start to analyze, well, what is it about this? And if they're similar in all respects, and something is different, then maybe it's that one item. But yeah, you should always be, I think, pushing that limit. I think I like to be pushing the weird, going into the weird area, and challenging people a little bit. I don't want to be safe. Like at work, like professionally, we have to be very safe.
That's
Because there's a budget at risk, and you're selling a product to the public, so it has to be palatable. But like for my personal stuff, I can push it, and I can, you know, this one I'm doing now isn't particularly crazy by any means, but there's some new stuff in here, new combinations. But it's just something you have to kind of figure out yourself, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. When I do design, I always push it depending from what the product is. If it's a real product, it's different. If it's a concept art, it's different. But somehow the farthest by some calculation in my head is 40% that you can go away from reality.
Oh, that's good. So you got a number.
That's from my experience. If it's a real life product, 20% is max. That's the max. But this is like 40%, and that's a lot from my experience. And if you go away from that, people don't respond good because it's too new for them. It's too
Yeah.
new. I had that experience that showed me industrial design is the thing that showed me that. And why it showed me that, because for example, new material appears, all of a sudden you can design, for example, the let's say what can we, for example, a fighting stick, and all of a sudden you can make it thinner than it used to be, and human eye doesn't like it because it's too thin for the human eye that was used to, and it doesn't matter that it's working, the human eye doesn't like it. So there's some specific I'm not going to say genetic mutations, but genetic heritage that we don't like to steer away from.
Yeah, so there has to be, when I teach concept vehicle design, is there has to be a little bit of a toe in reality. So one of the exercises that we do is to work in terms of metaphor and being literal to your reference. So if you remember the movie Fifth Element, they had these taxis in the future city. And the taxis were like 1950s taxis with the wheels taken off.
Yeah.
And it was very literally, a taxi. It was very familiar. And you can push it to be really kind of far away from that analogy, from that reference. And it's kind of like a spectrum. So you can have a semi-truck with no wheels on it and it flies in space and it's just a semi-truck. Or you can have something that appears in Star Wars where it's a cargo vessel of some sort and it doesn't look like a semi-truck at all. It's something different, but it's the same purpose, the same reference. And so where you want to put that on there, as you go towards the left side, which is literal, then people will recognize and understand it more. And for some purposes, sometimes you need to be very literal and understand it. So the spinner in Blade Runner, it's got wheels at all four corners, but it flies. It's police car blue, and it's got all the flashing lights on top. So that's all the connection you need. And then beyond that, it's something different. But even that could be taken further, right?
It steers you back in reality, yeah, absolutely. Maybe a little bit further, but I don't think it would be so good if it was a little bit away from that more. That's from my... That's just.
But design is all about iteration. So you do a sketch for a client and you do a whole bunch of different versions, and then you kind of gauge what they like. They want you to go further or come back. But like when you worked with Chris Bangle on that project, a student project, you really want to go far out and then bring it back.
Yeah.
Like any good design director will tell you that. It's like, go out there, scare me. My boss says that a lot. He says, scare me. I want to be scared, and then we'll figure it out from there. Because the reality will come back. All the feasibility information, you're going to bring it back to reality eventually. But if you start on the safe side, you're never going to have that excitement.
Yeah. You can wait for him with a baseball bat if something is not going good, and he will get scared. I'm joking, of course, but it's the way it was. But I'm glad that you mentioned this about checking and everything, because I'm having a fight with people today, the younger generations, 5 years maybe even younger than me, which is not a lot. There is some kind of new direction in design where people don't want to get comments and stuff like that, and they want they're selective, to be honest. It's not even not getting comments, but to be selective about comments. I don't want somebody commenting bad about my work. And I think that is the most important thing in any design or art field, that you have to get the comments. It doesn't matter if you like them or you don't like them, but comments are the crucial thing how you evolve. So what do you think about that? Should we get the comments or we shouldn't? Or should we be selective about the comments? How do you perceive that? Because I perceive it in a bad way if we don't get comments.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, do you want to improve or do you want to feel good? And no pain, no gain. It's like you got to take those critical comments that might, knock your ego down a little bit before you learn and evolve. If you're comfortable where you are, you don't want to change, then you can just get comments from your friends and not think about it. But I look at comments, and my greatest fear as a designer is knocking something off, like copying something, and I never do it intentionally, but certainly from all the visual stimulus and information that goes in my brain every day, stuff is stuck in my brain, and my fear is I'm just going to redraw something in the back of my mind that I don't realize I'm drawing. So I'm really careful to look at people's comments, and if somebody says that looks like something, immediately I'll go and I'll look it up and make sure that what I'm doing is not close to that.
Yeah.
But you really, I think it's important to listen to criticism. Most of it is good because it's outside opinion, and you can get stuck kind of in your own world and not continue to develop as a designer if you don't listen to that.
Or you get tired eyes. You get tired eyes. That's what happens to me.
Yeah.
Your eyes just get too tired and you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
I mean, that happens a lot, but I'm having... That's literally becoming a discussion on festivals and stuff like that. People not wanting to have comments, and I'm always telling them...
Really?
Yeah.
That's a new thing, I guess. Huh?
Well, it's like... I don't want to have comment from everybody because not everybody knows what he's saying, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. I mean, opinions are like S, everybody has an S, but that doesn't mean you can reject the opinion and everything like that. And
right.
I mean, you need to get the opinions. It doesn't matter, because from my experience, even though people are saying I don't want to get opinions from specific people, my experience with that is that they don't want to get bad comments. Good comments are always welcome, but bad comments are not welcome. So it's like selective.
That's not a good sign. As a designer, you really have to be open to that stuff.
Yeah, people throw tomatoes at you if they don't like it. It was like that in the Middle Age. It was like that always. And when you put your work on the wall, everybody is there to judge it. It doesn't matter who the person is. He has the right to judge it. And then you, I think the best designers are the ones who can take the advantage from that and understand what really is not good in his work and improve it.
Yeah, when I was going to school, the design instructors, they could be really, really harsh. Like,
same here.
Brutally honest.
Same here.
Like sometimes they say you'll never be a designer. Yeah, that kind of comment. And they started to get in trouble, and they, the whole kind of perception of what you could do as a teacher has changed, and there's less honesty than there really needs to be.
Yeah.
I think it's needed a little bit. So you can be more diplomatic about it. Sometimes it's not said in a very polite way, and that's not necessarily helpful, but at the same time, it's important information. So if a teacher tells you never be a good designer, you never be a designer at all, maybe that's what kicks you in the butt and makes you work hard. Maybe that's why they say it.
Something needs to shake you up. And I always say to people, I mean, the world is not nice. It can be very bad to you and everything.
That's right. But it's harsh. You can't hide from it.
You can't hide from it. You can hide behind anything you want, but it will catch up on behind your back and it will eat you alive. That's my experience. I mean, there are some people who will give you rude comments just because they don't like you or just because they are having a bad day. But most people will give you the honest opinion what they think, and it doesn't mean that they will give you the opinion that you want to hear, but the one that they think. So for me, the comments were always important, and I like that you're also saying that comments are very important, because
absolutely, yeah, for sure.
I'm never judging a person who is giving, and I think it's my personality that I never took it to my soul, like the person is judging my work, not me, and that's very important to differentiate your job from yourself.
Yep.
So we're gonna finish soon. I know that you didn't finish that, but you can finish it later probably. We are almost 2 hours. People are loving it because I see there is a lot of them. And I will read 2 more comments. You answered, and we can go 5 more minutes. Guys, we have 5 more minutes or 10, and we can answer in your comments. The John has today said some amazing stuff, and we learned a lot, even myself.
We're in agreement for everything too.
Yeah.
Which is good.
That is always nice. So Arthur is asking, do you believe your ramen diet has some influence on your style?
Who is this Arthur guy? I have no idea who you're talking about.
The guy that swims with the fishes, the Aquaman.
Dude, I I've been eating too much ramen. I-
You love ramen, right? I saw that also on your post.
oh yeah. Oh, it's. I guess it goes along with having an open mind.
Yeah.
Like I was a very picky eater when I was a kid,
Okay.
and I've just started to be explore more. My wife is Chinese,
Okay.
so I started to explore that whole world of food, and then working at Honda, we're in a very Japanese community. Through Toyota used to be there, Nissan, lots of other companies. So there's fantastic restaurants, and I'm like, just I should start going to these ramen restaurants because there's so many of them around there. Just comparing them, learning more. So you put them side by side. It's a dish of noodles, but until you've had a whole bunch, then you start to appreciate the subtlety, the difference, the quality between all of them.
You know,
But no, it doesn't help my design at all. And I'm getting too fat.
I just imagine like 50 people running to buy ramen after your comment, like, oh my God, I'm gonna become a good designer.
I wish that was a secret. It's not.
Secret ingredient in
That's-
design. I never ate ramen, by the way. Never had anywhere to eat it, but probably I will try.
Yeah, if you're gonna have it, you probably want to have the good stuff. So if you're in Japan, that's probably where you want to try it first. Then you'll really know. Otherwise, you might just waste your time.
Okay.
But if you ever see a ramen restaurant in your travels anywhere, just look how they serve the egg.
Mhm.
So that'll give you a clue if it's like a good place or not. So the real ramen restaurants, they'll serve the egg and it'll look soft boiled, like the yolk is kind of half runny,
Okay.
and that's like the proper egg. Otherwise, the kind of the fake places, they'll just hard boil an egg and cut it in half.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a sign that it's just they're not really serious about it.
I
So you can
see.
just walk away.
Okay. Now I know. I didn't know that. Nice. And one more question. Guys, we are finishing. If you have some questions, please do post them because we don't have a lot of more time. Uh, Geno is asking, Geno86Yo, if I'm pronouncing it good. How do you let something look more futuristic and functional? A lot of existing concept cars looking pretty futuristic. How can I push that even more? Well, the question is, how do we make futuristic cars even more futuristic? I don't know.
Uh,
In my head, I will try to answer first because I don't think. I mean, the question. Okay, I understand there is a question, but why would you push it even forward when you already have a futuristic car? The main ingredient of every successful design, it doesn't matter if it's a car design, industrial design, concept design, it's something that's fixing the problem. So the best car designs don't only look good, but they fix some problem. For example, and that's where engineering comes in. So to fix something, you need to learn a little bit engineering. Doesn't mean that you need to learn how the engine works, but packages and
Yep.
stuff like that can change a lot of car. So if you have something that is fixing the problem, that's a win, because you can always style it good. Styling is a different part of design. If you ask me, it's different from that. But with a good idea, nothing can stop you. And I don't see the point pushing it even more futuristic. But answer is find the problem and fix it. How do you find the problem? By going out and exposing yourself to the world.
yeah, very good, very good.
Oh, thank
So
you.
like going out and experiencing it, that is Honda philosophy. That is called the three realities. Go to the place, know the actual situation, and that's a lot of what we do. And what Mr. Honda did was, like, when he wanted to get into motorcycle racing, is he went to Isle of Man
Yeah.
just by himself and saw, what is this all about? And the first motorcycle race team that Honda took to Isle of Man, their main rider, their best rider, had never ridden on pavement before. He'd only raced on dirt.
Okay.
And it terrified him. He was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But once you kind of find out the information, the next is, attacking the problem with no fear, just going for it and learning from your mistakes. That's really important too. Is it goes along with accepting criticism. Is that's how you go forward. Is you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, I like how you said that. It's always about that criticism, man. Somehow we always go in that direction.
Yeah, it's important. That's how you learn for sure.
Yeah. And one more question, guys, and we are finishing. Unfortunately, I made John talk too much, so he didn't finish the painting. Please do understand us because it's really hard to paint at the same
Yeah.
time and everything. But it's looking amazing, and I'm sure that he's gonna finish it, and it's gonna be amazing. So one
Yeah,
more,
I'll finish it at home later and I'll upload it.
yeah, sure, let's do it like that because every John's painting looks really good. So this one's gonna look also. I'm sure it's already looking really good. That fender that's going down and everything behind the wheel, I love it. So we have one really really good question. All of the questions were nice, but this is like, which advice would you give to your younger self now that you have a lot of years on the automotive design field? Speaking
uh,
with the young John now.
well, for me, it's like everything turned out so well. I don't want to change anything,
Yeah.
but I always feel like I should have worked harder as a student. I always feel like I didn't work hard enough.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's always pretty good advice is as a student, work harder than you've ever possibly worked before, and it'll all pay off for sure. Especially with the industry as challenging competitively as it is, and there's so few jobs out there, and you really need to strive to be like the best, but the best in somebody else's opinion, not in just your own mind. So um, when people start to emulate your work or give you a lot of good compliments, and if nobody's giving you any critical compliments, you're doing really good.
Yeah.
Maybe you do want some more input. You'll have to go to more professional level to get that more insightful input because to an amateur stuff looks like really really good. But yeah, that's what I say is just work harder, and when you start to work harder, then work even harder than that.
I agree. Hard work does pay off, right?
Yeah, but design school is fun too. So I kind of wish that I had a cell phone back there, that I would have been able to take more pictures because there was some great times, and I went to school with a lot of really talented people that ended up in amazing places in the industry, and people that went completely surprising places as well, and didn't get car jobs, whatever, but they're very happy what they do. But it's a really good time together, and it's all history as well. Technology has changed so much, so we weren't drawing in Photoshop back then. Just car design that wasn't happening digitally.
Yeah.
There was just the first kind of experiments with it. There was something called the Shimaseki computer, which is a big giant rear projection monitor laid out like a desk, and you would draw on it, and it was like an all-in-one software hardware combination. And then when I started, one of the first things I did was I started drawing a tablet. I was using something called Studio Paint,
Oh, okay.
which was made by Alias.
Alien Studio Paint, right?
Yeah,
I used it
and
also.
yeah, it had great like airbrush tools and stuff.
Great lines.
Yeah.
Photoshop didn't have that good lines until 2013.
Yeah,
something
it
like
had its own special character. It was pretty good, and I learned a lot with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing. Just 20 some years of technology change, and yeah, it's a fun ride for sure. I just love it.
I see. It was, yeah, totally different software. Now I'm thinking about it because, yeah, it reminded me of that.
Yeah, well, it had a hide show brush too, which is kind of cool. So you could basically make stuff invisible by brushing on it, and then you
Yeah.
could bring it back by brushing out with the other brush. So I don't remember exactly how I used it, but I remember it's good for glass, for drawing glass, rendering glass.
I see. So, John, it was a pleasure having you here. I think we're
Yeah,
finished.
I'm honored. It was great to talk to you, and it's a lot of fun.
I love talking with you, man. So much cool information for both me and our guests. Guys,
Yeah.
I'm gonna post the video online and post the John's work and everything. I'm sure most of you know it already. But one more time, thank you, John, for coming and joining me. It was a pleasure talking with you, and I hope that we will meet soon in real life.
Yeah,
And
thank you very much, and I look forward to your book, and I'll be watching for your Kickstarter on there
thanks,
too.
man. I'm waiting for your book. I hope that we meet soon. I want to really meet you in real life because this talk was amazing.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll go on a world tour when the book comes out.
Yeah, we are going. I'm going on a world tour, touring everybody and spending all the money I earn. That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Okay,
All right.
I will buy you drinks. That's how it goes.
Yes, I'll buy the second round then.
We have a deal, man. It was a pleasure having you. Bye, guys,
All right.
and thank you so much for being here and joining us on this stream. I will see
Thank you,
you
everybody.
very soon with a new guest, which is going to be nice. Bye, guys.
Bye.